Here we go.
Oh, no.
Hello and welcome to this review. I am here with one of my best friends. I'm just trying to be sweet to you. I'll give you the squeeze under the leg.
No.
No. No, I'm here with one of my best friends, Zachary Gibson. You were on the first video that was ever published on this channel, which shout out to the short film that we made together called Penny's Inspiration. It's a masterpiece.
Work of art.
Yeah, definitely recommend checking that out. But today, well, how long have we been planning on doing this?
I don't know, a while. It was like...
Yeah,
was it a month ago we watched
I believe
Memento?
we watched it. Was it this month that we watched it? I think it was like near the beginning of...
I think it was end of July.
Okay. So, yeah, it's been about a month or so. We watched Memento together for the first time. And I think both of us had a very, euphoric experiance while we watched this.
I remember halfway through, I stopped you.
Well, because I had to pee. Yeah, I went to the bathroom, I paused it. I was like, sorry, man, I gotta pee. And then I came back and sat down on my bed. And he was staring at me, and he was just like, this movie is insane. And then, I resumed it, and we watched the rest of it. But we'll get into that in just a minute.
Yeah.
Today's movie that we're going to be talking about is Memento. It was written and directed by Christopher Nolan. It stars Guy Pearce, Carrie-Anne Moss, and Joe Pantoliano. And I want you to give me a brief synopsis, in your own words, a brief synopsis of the plot of Memento.
I guess my off-the-cuff brief synopsis would be the character Leonard, played by Guy Pearce, is seeking revenge for the murder and rape of his wife, but he has an extreme mental condition which doesn't allow him to create new memories, forming all sorts of problems as he seeks out the murder of his wife.
Yeah, I would say that's a pretty good brief synopsis of it. But yeah, so let's get right into this review. Do you want to go first, or would you like me to go first? This is just going to be very casual.
Yeah,
back
with
and
me,
forth.
the first thing... and Christopher Nolan does this in a lot of his movies. Mm-hmm. We are just absolutely thrown into the middle of whatever's going on.
Yeah.
I think of Inception. If you watch that movie for the first time, you're probably sitting there for the first 5 minutes just...
what the heck?
You probably don't like the movie, honestly. I was I was like, man, what on earth is going on? A beach and this house.
Yeah, well, I reviewed Inception, and that was something I talked about at the beginning of it. Where I was just like, for the first time that I watched it, the first opening scene, I had no idea.
Yeah, and I presume we're filming this the day that review goes up, so I haven't even seen
we're filming that the day that goes up, so yeah, you haven't seen that yet, but I talk about that in my review.
And he does a similar thing here, just at the very beginning. We're thrown in the absolutely epic shot of the reverse film, and we see Teddy there, his brains blown out. And obviously, that's quite the way to start a movie.
That is quite the way. I remember I watched this last night too, and I kind of just forgot about how it opens. Yeah. And so I remember turning it on, and it's the Polaroid of Teddy's head, literally just blown into this corner of a room. Yeah. And I was just like, I remember the first time we watched this too. We turned it on, and I remember you went, oh. It's just like, wow, that's a really graphic way to start a movie.
Yeah, there was no explanation, and of course the movie is so unique in the way it explains it, which is what makes it phenomenal.
Right. Yeah, I would say something I really, really enjoyed about it was the narration that was told during this movie, and it doesn't really reveal the plot or anything like that, because I think when you think of a narrated movie, you think of something like. A perfect example of that in my mind is The Shawshank Redemption. Yeah. Where Red is this guy who's revealing all of this information that you need to push the plot forward, and he gives you information about characters and things like that. In this movie, it's a little bit different, and I actually don't think I would consider this a movie, a narrated movie, honestly. Yeah. Because it doesn't reveal the plot. It basically is just internal dialogue, which I think perfectly lets you into Leonard's mind and kind of lets you see how serious his condition can be. There's more internal dialogue than actual narration. Yeah. So I thought that was really interesting.
I don't know if there even really is actual narration. It is it is narration to a certain extent, but it's done so differently than a movie that has a narrator who's disconnected from the story.
Right.
We're just getting a further view into Leonard's perspective. And this movie is like phenomenal because of its perspective.
Right.
Because the perspective is so amazing that, that builds from both the internal dialogue that we hear from Leonard, as well as the way the story is told. And that together makes you feel like you can relate to Leonard so much the first time watching this.
Yeah, very much.
Which I've never seen a movie that like made me feel like it's like 4D almost.
Yeah, almost, yeah. But it's like 4D, you're getting into somebody's like head. Because I think this is such a condition that, I don't know if this condition actually exists in real life.
I think
it does, maybe, kind of.
Yeah, I don't know to this extent, because this movie takes some artistic liberties in explaining this condition and what he can and can't do.
Right.
In real life, it's a little different, but...
Yeah, but I mean, like, I don't think that if it was just... If like, there was no internal dialogue or anything like that, I don't think that you would be able to clearly get inside of Leonard's head.
Yeah.
And so, by him not really explaining plot or, like, saying like, oh, well, this is what this character is like or something like that. He really just tells you, he's kind of, it's almost like every time he wakes up, he's experiencing like everything he's searching for all over again.
Yeah. And
I think that gives you a really fresh perspective on getting inside his head, because he keeps saying kind of the same things over and over again. And I don't know. I thought that was really interesting. I don't really consider it a narrated movie.
Yeah.
But it has narration.
The closest thing would probably be during the black and white scenes when he's kind of going over to himself
exposition.
How he himself is able to remember all the steps and the repetition and how that helps him. And the way he does that is even less narration, because he's like telling the story of Sammy.
He's speaking, like he's speaking on the phone, so it feels natural. It's not like he's just explaining that to like the audience watching that.
And the story of Sammy, if you're watching and you haven't seen the movie, which honestly, with these types of reviews, you should watch the movie first.
Yeah, I know, because I normally don't even give like...
Yeah, you don't...
Oh, there's a spoiler. There's spoilers coming in this.
Hopefully,
I normally just talk about the... Yeah.
And this movie's so good, you don't want to miss out on a first-time experience.
No, yeah.
If you're here, you've already seen too much. You got to turn this off and go watch Memento.
Right now. Yeah.
But the story of Sammy... Does he have a last name?
Jankis. Yeah.
Okay.
Remember Sammy Jankis?
Yep, Sammy Jankis. Obviously tattooed on his hand.
On his thumb.
To remember his story, and that whole thing is like so fascinating.
Oh, it's very incredible. I was even talking about that like with the story structure of this movie, because it's so interesting. Like the story is told in reverse, but there's these black and white scenes that are thrown in the middle, and I think it
that
really
don't play in reverse.
Right, yeah, that also and I think that really keeps you as an audience member really engaged in what is happening, because when I remember even feeling like whenever you see the scenes that are in color, you really are excited about what's going to happen next in the black and white sequence. I think you're interested in what's going to happen there, and even when it goes back in black and white, you're interested to see where it goes in the color.
I wrote that down.
Yeah.
When I watched it, I was like, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
I'm constantly left on cliffhangers.
Yeah, I know.
And
it's cliffhanger after cliffhanger.
Also, someone might have done it before, but Christopher Nolan, for me, created the reverse cliffhanger.
Oh, yeah. No,
I was constantly, for example, during the color scenes, I would wonder to myself, oh my goodness, how does he know Teddy's the killer? He just wrote down, kill him. I'm him. How does he know about Teddy? Like, what he did? And then we get to a black and white scene, and it would be, the phone would ring, and I'd say, oh, who's calling him? Cut.
Yeah,
and I was constantly left...
He's like, who is this? And then it cuts.
With anticipating what the next scene was going to be.
Yeah.
And there was never a moment where I thought to myself, and there are so many movies like this, where... All right, okay, back to the side plot, back to the other side thing. I just want to get back to the regular one. And sometimes it's so sad when you get a movie.
No, and really, I mean, this movie is made up of subplots, honestly. Like, this entire movie is kind of a big subplot. Or it's just like one story that's being told, and there is no subplot.
I think that's pretty much exactly what it is. There isn't any subplot, but not that I can think of majorly anyways, because we're following... Leonard through everything.
Sure.
Is there even a scene without Leonard in it? I can't think of one.
I can't think of one. No,
Yeah.
because no.
Because we're just following a story.
You're following this
but
guy.
It's
Yeah.
so cut up that you're almost following, side plots about Leonard.
Yes.
And you're just constantly jumping between the different timelines in this movie so drastically and constantly that it feels like you're watching a bunch of different stories that all come together at the end.
Oh, yeah, very much. Yeah, I think also what helps with keeping you engaged is the story, like him telling about Sammy Jenkins.
Yeah, okay.
And so in my opinion...
Those are scenes where it's just Sammy. That's probably the closest
that's probably,
side
but
plot.
even then, it's like Leonard is talking about it on the phone, and he still is in some of those scenes. Because he's he's like the investigator for the insurance company. So I think it also that keeps you engaged. But I also think that Sammy Jenkins is an interesting way to tell the audience, like, it's for Leonard. It shows how he's trying to not become like Sammy Jenkins.
Yeah.
And I wanted to ask you, because there are some scenes in this where I'm really, really confused still, even after seeing it 3 times.
You know what I was going to say? I watched some stuff. The Nolan brothers, who together kind of wrote this movie. It was Christopher Nolan's brother.
Yeah, Jonathan.
Jonathan Nolan. Yeah. Who had the idea, really. And I think he wrote a book.
He wrote it's a short story.
A short story?
Yeah.
And they actually disagree on what the truth is
Really?
about Leonard. So they themselves disagree. So after I saw that, I kind of had kind of a chaotic peace within me. I was like, I can never truly know what happens because the guys in charge of this disagree.
Yeah.
So I guys kind of came to the conclusion that...
Like, you don't know.
And that's the beauty of the movie, because if we did know, it would not be half as intriguing.
So true.
Would it?
I even talked about that in... I mean, I hate to bring up the Inception review again, but I talked about, like, the end of Inception is so divisive. And I talked about how if you get on YouTube, you can find, like, millions of videos out there where it's just like, oh, the ending of Inception explained. But it's just like, I don't think it's meant to be explained.
Exactly.
I think the beauty of it is not knowing what exactly, is it a dream, is it not a dream? And so for this, I was actually just going to ask you, I wrote down, ask Zach if he believes that Sammy Jenkins is actually Leonard, or if it's Sammy Jenkins was an actual person. Because, like, here's the thing. There's a shot in there where Sammy Jenkins is in, I believe it's like a home.
Yep.
And this person walks by, and there's just this, like, half a second shot of what looks like Leonard sitting in the same chair.
And now, if I'm not mistaken, that scene... No, it does. It happens after Teddy has started explaining the actual,
and then all the
whether
stuff
it be
with
truth
his
or not.
wife, like how his wife survived the...
I will say, though, I don't know if you caught it, but about 10 to 13 minutes before Teddy does any explaining, we see a shot of Leonard holding the insulin needle in front of his wife. Did you catch that at any point?
I didn't catch that.
No, it's while he's in Natalie's home. There's a second, I saw my second viewing, and I was like, oh man, that's before Teddy even brings up the idea of Leonard. And Leonard has this flash in his mind. I think he looks at his hand and he flashes.
And that's what he
remembers.
remembers.
And he sees him holding the insulin in front of his wife in a color sequence. So that was one for me that was also huge. And
that's just my thing, is like, I don't know what to believe. I don't know if I should believe that, because, like, at the end of it, I think Teddy is like, he's actually telling him the truth. And I'm going to get into that later when we talk about, because I want to talk about, like, who's the villain in this movie. Because I think that there is a villain. But
bro, for me, I literally wrote down in my notes on the first viewing, and that's what's so crazy about this movie. The first and second viewing for me were both amazing and completely opposite experiences.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, all my perspectives shift. Like, who I thought was good, who I thought was bad, those were all reversed. Because during the first... It's, like, kind of crazy to me how much it flip-flops, like, the yin and yang of this movie.
Yeah.
Because on my first watching, and it stuns me, that's what I find genius about this movie, is that during the first one, Leonard is completely unreliable, and you just think to yourself... Oh, not Leonard, sorry. Teddy is completely unreliable.
Yeah, don't believe his lies.
And I think to myself... Oh, my word. Teddy's lying. And at the very end, I'm like, oh man, Teddy's starting to maybe, spit facts.
Maybe, yeah, I know. Maybe he's speaking the truth.
He might be telling the truth here. But upon second viewing, Teddy seemed to always be telling the truth until the very end, where he started to lie a little bit, and then Leonard reacted to all these lies by, falsely marking him as the killer.
Yeah, he was,
Like, I even wrote down while watching it the second time, I said to myself, I'm going to sit down here and I'm going to write down all of Teddy's lies. Like, I'm going to go, I'm going to see, as soon as he lies, I'm writing it down. I did not write anything down for Teddy telling a lie. There was no lies until the very ending sequence, where he says, there's a cop looking for you, Leonard. He says, he denies that Leonard even knows him. He says that Jimmy was his guy, but then later reveals that, no, even Jimmy wasn't your guy.
Yeah,
he starts to try to cover up for himself.
Yeah.
And that is what even makes Leonard distrustful. I think Teddy's biggest mistake was that he lied to Leonard.
Yeah.
And as soon... So, I mean, and that's what he writes. Don't believe Teddy and his lies. Right. But Teddy never lied. And, like, because he lied to him just a little bit, it completely broke the trust. And with Leonard, who, as soon as something is written down, for him it is so, like, fact.
Yeah.
There's no morally gray area for Leonard. When he writes that down, either people are good or they're bad. And if he misses a little bit of the bad, he's never going to catch that.
Yeah.
As we see with Natalie.
Yeah.
Natalie lets him remember the good, but she does a great job of hiding the bad, taking away pens when she does something bad to him.
Yes, she does. Yeah, I'm going to talk about that too.
Yeah, it's so crazy because, so many reasons. I even made a big note of, like, Leonard's, like, a pretty prideful guy, about, he really feels like he's conquered his illness in a lot of ways.
Oh, yeah, sure he does.
He thinks to himself...
Because at the end of the movie, he says, when Teddy's just like, look, you caught the real John G. Like, you caught and killed him a long time ago. And he was just like, no, I'm not. Like, no, I didn't. Because if I did, I would know it. Like, I would know it deep down in my heart that I killed him. And he's just like, but you did kill him. Like, years ago. Like, you don't even remember when this happened.
Yep. And then he shows him the
Yeah, and he shows him the picture. And he's just like, see, this is you. Like, you're so happy right after you killed him. But...
And even though Leonard is, like, even prides himself in being so methodical, he acts on a lot of impulses. I mean, he had it written down as a fact that the real John G was a drug dealer of some sort. Like, in his mind, he had those facts. He pretty much disregards the drug dealer fact when going for Teddy. He doesn't, even follow up on that. He, in his mind, thinks to himself that I have all these things written down. I know so much, but in the end, we find out, he starts to disregard his own facts.
Yeah. That's true.
In the killing of Teddy.
So at the end of this movie, I want to bring up, like, I was thinking about this as I was watching it. At the end of this movie, who is the villain in Memento? Because I think every story has a hero and every story has a villain. And obviously, I think we see the hero here as Leonard. But who is the villain to Leonard? And I was thinking, could it be Teddy? And I after seeing it 3 times, I don't think so.
Yeah,
I honestly see Teddy as, and we've even talked about this a little bit, but I honestly see Teddy as the most loyal friend that Leonard has, and that may be a really strong take. But I see him as I honestly, like, because you spend the whole movie thinking, don't believe his lies, don't believe his lies. But then, I don't know, just after watching it, I've been thinking, you see Leonard kind of just forge that at the end of the movie, where he's just like, yeah, you know what, you're my next John G., so I'm not going to believe anything you say.
Yeah.
And I'm going to make sure that I don't believe anything I say when I wake up and forget who I am again or whatever. So I honestly think that Teddy is a really, like, kind of a loyal friend. And he spends the whole movie, you see that as it tells it in reverse, like, in all the color scenes and stuff like that. You see that he's actually, I don't know, he's actually trying to, like, he's actually giving him sound advice or whatever, you know? And so, like, is he crooked? Yes. He's a very, very crooked person. Yeah. You would not want to... I don't think that this is a guy you really should be super great friends with.
Exactly.
But I think that in Leonard's life, right at this time, he is the most loyal friend that he has. The lesser of
some evils, that's for sure.
Yes, yeah, definitely. And then I was kind of moving on to Natalie. And
I wrote down on my notes. The only thing I read on my notes is on second viewing. I put down under Natalie. I put she is evil.
Like, she is. Well, okay. There's one scene in there which is extremely.
But with someone like that,
crazy.
for me, even when they're kind, it just comes off like so manipulative.
Right.
That I.
Yeah. No, it's very.
Yeah.
She is very. I think she's a very manipulative person.
Mm-hmm.
But I do think that she also shows some good. Because she is trying to. I mean, you have to think like. Leonard is the one who killed Jimmy.
Yeah.
So Jimmy's gone. And I think Natalie suspects that a little bit. Like, if I'm just being honest. Because he's in the same car as Jimmy. He's in Jimmy's clothes.
No. That's kind of a big thing for me on second viewing that I came to a lot of realization on.
Right.
Was, I guess that is really the subplot of the movie. Is
yeah,
the whole Jimmy G, Natalie.
Also the Dodd thing, maybe.
Exactly. And what it looks to me here is that, I mean, Natalie, her motivations is Jimmy's blunders, death, all that, not coming back to fall on her.
Right.
She doesn't want to be responsible for this missing $200K and Jimmy's death. Mm-hmm. She needs to make sure that other people are responsible for that. And when she sees Leonard, I mean, even that scene where Leonard pulls up in the car, she goes, "Hey, Jimmy," and he rolls down the window. She's like,
"Yeah." She's like, "Oh,
that's not
Jimmy, but it's the same car. He's also wearing the same clothes."
Yeah, and then she has to start thinking to herself, how do I leverage the situation to where... And honestly, she's like... I don't know. She might be one of the smartest people in this whole movie.
Oh, she's extremely smart.
Because of the way...
She's extremely smart.
No, she's by far the smartest. Because she's playing all sorts of people. She's playing Teddy, Leonard, definitely. Dodd. She even got Leonard... Because Dodd, in my opinion, is one of the people that she was scared might even, like... come back on her for what Jimmy had done, because we find out, and the whole Dodd thing is kind of
it's a
great.
Little,
they don't explain it super clearly, but he was associate or something of Jimmy, and she was kind of fearful that would come back on her, and she gets Leonard to go and do her dirty work, basically.
Right, and that's the scene that I'm thinking of. Is like where she comes in and she's like, I mean, livid, like super livid. And the one of the first things she does when she walks in, because like she doesn't in the conversation that they're having, she doesn't really set up that she's trying to manipulate Leonard. Mm-hmm. She just comes in, and like one of the first things she does is she grabs all the pens, doesn't even really say anything. She just grabs all the pens and puts them in her purse because she knows what she's about to do. Yeah, she just knows it. So, and then. She goes out and sits in her car until he passes, and he comes back in and fully manipulates him. Yeah. And I think that in itself is pretty villainous.
Oh,
I mean, very. But I don't see her as the main villain, because I do think that there are moments where she is kind of a sweet person, and mainly what I'm thinking of is she's lost Jimmy, and so I think she's just trying to.
But Jimmy's loss is so fresh. I just see that as a manipulation of Leonard to try to get him to sympathize with her, so that, I mean, he even writes it down on the card. And you see that she knows what she's doing when it comes to what he's writing down is important. Mm-hmm. And if she can manipulate what he writes, then she can manipulate him as a whole, no questions asked.
Yeah.
So when she comes to him with the Jimmy sob story, and he writes down, she's sympathetic, she will help me, and she reinforces that sometimes, I can't ever really view that as a positive interaction.
Okay.
Just because I view her as such, that the only reason she's doing any of that is to get to the greater means of destroying Leonard later.
Yeah. Okay. I can definitely see that. I don't know. I see her she definitely is a little bit more of a villain than Teddy is, in my mind.
Oh,
most definitely. So, I see her as somewhat of a villain, I think, in Leonard's life, but I see the ultimate villain as, his actual, illness.
Yeah.
I think his illness is the thing that...
That's what he fights against.
Yeah, he fights against it constantly, and in the end... I think, at the very end of the movie, when he kind of, forges and moves on to, Teddy's going to be my next John G. Mm-hmm. I think that is ultimately showing that his mind has won.
Yeah.
That shows you, okay, he's, his mind is the villain, and his mind just beat him. because there are moments throughout the movie where I think Leonard is like realizing, I don't think I'm ever gonna be able to like get over this. I don't think I'm ever going to be able to move on, and we'll talk about that later in the Q&A because that's something I want to bring up. But I think he realizes I'm never going to move on from this. But his mind, I think his mind wins. I think his mind is more of a villain than anybody else in this movie.
No, I would say, that's correct.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Like, for sure, the mind is the ultimate villain, but it's almost like sub-villains. It's just, it's sad to see how often, Leonard is just constantly manipulated.
Oh, yeah, the whole movie is manipulated.
Yeah.
Even by Teddy in some aspects.
But the ultimate cause of this manipulation is the fact that he has this mental deficiency.
Right, yeah. So, that's, in my mind, that's the ultimate. You know what is funny is, like, you can even see manipulation in the guy of...
Yeah, the
front desk guy,
Everybody manipulates
well, I told
him.
my boss about, so I'm trying to sell you 2 rooms. And then I love kind of Leonard's attitude about it, though, because he was just like, well, at least you're honestly ripping me off,
And like I was saying earlier with, like, Leonard being prideful, I feel like Leonard could almost be an off-putting character at certain moments, but he is so empathetic, and you see him constantly trying to cater to other people, even though he has this illness. Like when he's talking about Sammy, he says, I get Sammy now because, who knows if he isn't real, but he says, I get Sammy because he didn't recognize me. He just
faked it.
He was faking it for me because do you know how weird it is to see someone again? And he kind of thought that way. He was thinking to himself, hey, I'm not going to remember you, but it's nothing personal.
Yeah.
Hey,
he tells Natalie
I'm
that.
sorry if I've already told you this before. He's always empathetic and thinking to himself, I want to make this like the least awkward and hard for the other person, and that makes him so endearing and lovable throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
Like you instantly side with him, and throughout the end, it's not like you ever stop siding with him.
No, never.
You never feel like Leonard is an unsavory character.
Yeah. I think the end of this movie where like he does move on to Teddy being the next John G, I think is another very sympathetic moment that you can get because you don't want him to go that route.
Yeah.
But you sympathize with him saying like, and you can see why he's going that route. I think that he's very, very sympathetic.
Yeah.
And I think that's the main thing that makes him very
and it's
lovable.
Wonderful writing.
Excellent. Yeah.
Like throughout the whole movie, obviously. But when they have it in such a way that you see people making the wrong decisions, and it's not like the horror movie wrong decisions where you're going, oh my word, these characters might be the dumbest idiots on the planet. Don't go into the haunted
Let's
basement.
Go into the dark house.
Yeah.
With no cell phones.
Yeah. Oops, the magic cloud made my cell phone stop.
Oh, no. Yeah.
But with Leonard, every decision that's wrong in which he makes is completely understandable, and you can almost see yourself making that same decision when you're in that circumstance. You never blame or it's amazing.
Very amazing. I loved it. It was really, really great. Well, do you want to move on to the Q&A?
I'm trying to think.
What
I want to say
okay.
is that for me, the genius of this movie and what sets this movie above the rest is for me anyways, the fact that they use perspective to such an extent that when I watched it the second time, nearly every line of dialogue changed meaning. When I watched it, every single line of dialogue like flip-flopped and everything was new, and the use of perspective is so immaculate that this movie it's like top all time because like
perspective movie.
They almost reinvented storytelling.
Oh, very much.
To a certain extent. Not that no movie had ever done something similar, or there's been things that try to do the same thing since, but nothing mastered it like Memento did.
Oh, I don't think so either. I think like after watching this, this became probably like in my top 5 favorite movies of all time.
Yeah,
I think it automatically moved into that range.
Yeah.
So, I think that this is genius. Did you have anything else you wanted to say? Because I actually am done in my notes.
Yeah.
But if there's anything else you want to talk about, let's do this.
I wanted to mention that the humor lands well.
Oh,
I like the humor in this
yes,
movie.
there is some humor in
because,
this movie.
no movie... Almost every movie has some sort of humor,
Yeah.
but this one lands well.
No, it
I
does.
love when he's getting chased by Dodd,
Yeah.
and he's like, all right, so
what
where
am
am
I-
I?
yeah, what am I
Oh, I'm
doing?
chasing this man. He goes to him, and he's like, nope, he's chasing me.
Yeah,
And he starts running away. Those moments are great.
Yeah.
And,
He also,
the spit in the cup.
Oh, the spit in the cup. Yeah,
That was
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
just really gross.
Yeah,
but,
it's like gross out humor.
But,
yeah,
yeah.
I also think it's a good test for Natalie as well, because she's like
Mhm.
very like suspicious of his illness.
Yeah.
She's just like, yeah, I'm gonna spit in this cup, and I have this guy spit in the cup, and I think
Yeah.
she even has Leonard spit in the cup.
Yeah, she
Where
does.
she's just like, yeah, but I think also there's another comedic moment that works really well that made me laugh
Uh-huh.
was when he's going to Dodd's room.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes to room number
yeah.
9 instead of room number 6, and so
Yeah.
he kicks it open, and it's just this random
yeah.
dude that like he
I forgot about that.
like knocked unconscious, and then he's just like, sorry, and then moves out and goes to the actual room. That was really great. It's I think it's kind of rare when you have a movie.
And when he looks like for the Gideon Bible, sees a gun, he's like,
oh yeah.
Yeah.
I think that it's very rare when you find a movie that is very serious in its nature and very dramatic, but can actually have a few comedic moments that
It doesn't
work.
take itself too seriously to have a comedic moment.
No, and I
It
think
breathes.
that should be your goal when you write a movie. Which honestly, like the more that I look at it, this movie, it's not just really well directed. It's it's very well written.
It's immaculate.
It's super great writing.
Yeah.
I mean, the level of storytelling that went into this is unbelievable. All right, so we're now after we're done with the review, but I think the review is still going to continue.
We'll give it a letter grade.
Right,
at the end.
yeah, we'll give it a letter
Some
grade at the
closing
end,
thoughts.
and this is also some extra thoughts of just some things that we really enjoyed or what we thought was most important in the movie. So it's a question and answer time.
Yeah.
Do you want to ask the first question?
Sure, I'll go first.
Okay.
So, question 1, I'm going to try to get it. Okay. What do you view as the most important scene in the movie?
Yeah, so here's my thoughts. And by the way, we haven't revealed any of this information.
No,
this is our first
The
time
other day we were
reactions.
talking and we wanted to go over
Yeah.
it so bad. We were like so close. We were like,
Yeah, I know.
Oh, but I
we
can't
were
say
like,
anything.
we can't. We can't say that. So, most important scene. I actually had. I changed this last night
Really?
because I
Wow,
watched
yeah.
this movie for the third time last night before we
Yeah.
talked about this, and I changed it. I'm also gonna, if you don't
looking up
mind.
what I-
Oh yeah, I'm not looking.
the
I'm
scene
not.
that... Okay, yeah.
I'm
go
gonna.
ahead.
So I changed it last night, but I also want to talk about the one that I changed it from.
Yeah,
the
but no,
runner-up.
let's do that after you give the first one, just in case mine
Sure.
is the one that you changed. Or
Okay,
something like that.
yeah. Let's. Okay.
So
sure.
give just your final
So-
answer, and then we'll go over our runner-ups.
Yeah. Okay. So the most important scene is Leonard in bed with Natalie.
Really?
That to me is the most important scene, and I'll tell you why.
Yeah, tell me
because
why.
Leonard is sitting
Uh,
on the bed talking to himself, and Natalie's just kind
Mm-hmm.
of sleeping. And with the kind of just this monologue that he's giving to
Mhm.
himself, where he's just kind of thinking out loud. And in that monologue, he realizes that he will never be able to let his wife go, and he's never going to be able to move on. And I
Yeah.
think that this is a prelude to the end of the movie, when he finally fully realizes, or when he realizes in that moment,
mhm.
I'm going to have to find a new John G.
Yeah.
And I think he does that every time he kills somebody. He has to find a new John G, and he comes to that realization. But in this, he's not there yet. He's not, because at that point, he's on the search for Teddy. Teddy
Yeah.
is the new John G. But he realizes just sitting in that bed, he's like, you know what, I'm never going to be able to move on at
Yeah.
all. And to me, that lets you perfectly into his mind, and I think it's Leonard realizing,
Mhm.
I'm going to have to live in my favorite line of this movie that Natalie gives. I think it's just mentioned one time, but she's just like,
You're just blissfully ignorant, aren't you?
you.
Yeah.
And I think that that's such a great way to describe Leonard. And I think he finally succumbs to the conclusion of, I just have to, for the rest of my life, remain blissfully ignorant. And
Yeah.
I think that's a good thing for him, because he wakes up in 10 minutes or whatever and doesn't remember he just said that and just continues on with his life.
Yeah.
But I think that's a really important moment, and I think it's a prelude to the end of the movie.
Mm-hmm. And I think, the reason that you chose that as your most important scene is probably kind of even in line with what I chose as my most important scene, which
Okay.
for me, I chose the scene where Leonard decides to lie to himself as my most
okay.
important scene.
Yeah.
So
okay.
it did at first kind of like take me off guard, but it's almost the same reason. But you're saying, like you said,
it's a prelude.
Yeah, it kind of comes before that. Sure. And it's almost the first time in the movie he's kind of having this realization and thought of I can't move on.
Yeah.
And the scene that I chose, him lying to himself about Teddy, don't trust his lies, making him the killer, setting him up for himself.
Right.
Is him coming to that realization, but instead of like monologuing it, he's taking action on that same thought. And that's the one that I viewed. And when thinking personally of the most important scene, I was thinking to myself, like, this scene is what makes the entire movie roll.
Yeah,
to a certain extent. So that's, but I feel like we both kind of just took different angles to the same even thought.
Yeah, I mean, like, I think that the end of this is definitely very important. I actually think that it is one of the most important scenes.
Yeah.
I just thought that this scene that I talked about was, it's almost like Christopher Nolan, as he was writing this, was just like, you know what, I'm going to give the audience a little bit of a hint at, like, what's coming at the end. And so, like, that's what I kind of felt like. You know how, like, I don't know if you've ever heard of this right here, but, like, in The Sixth Sense, when Cole, the kid, is talking to Malcolm in the hospital, he's, like, he finally gives him this information of, like, I see dead people, like, walking around. And the whole time, like, Malcolm is hearing all of this information, the camera is, like, slowly zooming in on his face, and it really lets you know, like, this guy's actually a ghost. Because Cole is sitting there saying, I see dead people, they walk around all the time, they don't know they're dead, and the camera's just zooming until it's, like, right up in his face. But, I think that was, like, M. Night Shyamalan kind of saying, like, I'm going to give the audience a little bit of a hint, and then, like, if they figure it out right here, then that's extraordinary. And so that's kind of what I thought, like, Christopher Nolan was kind of doing with that scene. Yeah. But I do believe that, like, what you said, like, those two, I feel like those are the two most
kind of
important
intertwined.
scenes. Two most important scenes in the movie, by far. So, anyways,
Yeah, you want to get on to question number 2?
Yeah, question number 2.
Okay, question number 2.
I'm reading
I guess I'll go
you.
First on this one.
Oh, no, wait, hold on. Could I talk about my runner-up?
Oh, yeah, go for your runner-up.
And then I'll read you the question
so
you can answer. So my runner-up scene that I changed it to him laying in bed. But I had my runner-up scene of Natalie taking advantage of Leonard. I actually said that was the most important scene, and I'm glad I changed it. Because I don't see that as the most important scene.
That is the moment where you realize Leonard is vulnerable, though.
Oh, yeah, but and, like, I think it really... I think that's one of the first, like, really, really big sympathetic moments. Yeah. Where you can really sympathize with Leonard.
And it changed me from thinking Leonard is so good at what he does, he's basically infallible.
To being like, this guy can be taken advantage of.
Yeah, I was like, oh, man. That's when I realized I may not know anything.
Right. Yeah. So, which is why I think Teddy throughout the movie is just like, you don't even know who you are. Yeah. And, like, he asked him questions. Yeah. And Leonard is just like, well, I'm Leonard. I'm from San Francisco. I was an insurance investigator.
And it's so amazing because on first view, it makes Teddy seem like John G. just always trying to throw him off. Right. He's always trying to throw him off, but it's so not that way.
Yeah, but it's not. It's not. Yeah, I don't see... But anyways, that was my runner-up, and that's what I want to talk about. Yeah, I just saw that as, like, this is the first moment where you kind of get to sympathize with Leonard, and you also get, like, very deep insight into, he's vulnerable. Yeah. He can be taken advantage of, and you get to see his illness, like, be the villain. Mm-hmm. But I'm glad I changed that. It's a good scene, but it's not the most important. Yeah. I don't think at all. But anyways, question number 2. What is your favorite, not the most important, but what's your favorite line of dialogue? And I have to say, this is probably the question that I've been most excited to hear, like, your thoughts on.
I love it too. I don't know. I've talked basically this whole time, perspective. Like, it's what I so love about this movie. And for me, my favorite line kind of goes with that too. My favorite line of dialogue is when Teddy says,
I won't be happy until you leave town.
Oh, yes. Okay.
And on first viewing, that screams Teddy is John G. I won't be happy until you leave town.
Yeah,
But then upon second watching, you realize it's because Leonard has dug such a hole for himself.
And so he's just dude,
waiting.
Leave.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's like, you got to get out of here. And for me, that was a line that so parallels itself between the two viewings.
Yeah.
And
so good.
when he said, that's just one that for me, like, blows my mind. I'm like, oh man, that's crazy.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. That's such a good line. I actually didn't expect your favorite line to be from Teddy.
Yeah, see, I keep on hearing you talk about stuff about Natalie, and I'm like, man, why was he talking about Natalie so much? Teddy was where it was at.
Oh, no, Teddy is a really, really important character.
But I think that goes to how strong all these characters are.
Oh, yeah,
and that,
they're great.
for me, like, some of my favorite things is usually to do with Teddy, and yours is to do with Natalie. They're both great.
No, they're both fantastic. Yeah, yeah. Okay, so my favorite line of dialogue is where I said the most important scene was. Where Leonard is in bed, and I feel like you know what this line is. But it's where, he's realizing he can't move on.
Yep.
And he says,
how am I supposed to heal if I can't feel time?
And I just think that's such a very deep thing. And okay, so something that Christopher Nolan does in a lot of his movies. And if you're not looking for that, you can miss those really deep themes. But I think Christopher Nolan really ties in some really deep stuff when he writes and directs movies. And that's such that's such a deep thing, because it's time to move on from someone. Yes, you do need time. Time is kind of on your side when you're trying to move on. It's the only thing that's going to help you. And if he doesn't have that, he can't. And I just love Leonard finally coming to this slow realization, even though he's going to forget it tomorrow. Yeah. He comes to the realization of just man, I'm stuck. Yeah. I'm literally stuck where I'm at right now. Anyways.
That's a powerful line of dialogue.
Yeah.
I'm also going to talk about my runner-up a little bit.
Okay, sure.
When it comes to my favorite line. One of my favorites, and this actually was originally my favorite, but I switched it to Teddy's line.
Okay.
Teddy's line is still my favorite, but this one is so thematic with the movie that I just couldn't neglect mentioning it. It's when Leonard says he's in a diner with Natalie. What is the scene? He's getting the papers. Anyways, he says, my wife deserves vengeance. Doesn't make a difference whether I know about it. Just because there are things I don't remember, it doesn't make my actions meaningless. Right?
Yeah.
And then at the move, like you said, it's so amazing seeing Leonard come to certain realizations and then either act upon them or reject them later in the movie.
Sure.
And it really opens up even the fact that we as people, we think so many things that we refuse to take action on, and we're constantly shifting in our beliefs one moment to the next.
Very much.
And him here, he's saying that the only thing I chase is concrete vengeance.
Right.
But then you see at the end, or what's the beginning of the movie, you see him completely rejecting that and saying,
no,
the only thing that I can value is what's in my mind, because that's the only thing that matters to me.
Yeah.
And it's just two totally opposite ways.
Yeah.
And that was just to me a theme setting sort of line of dialogue.
Oh, very much.
Yeah.
I also think it hits on especially when you get to the end, or I guess the beginning of the movie.
Yeah. We'll call it the end just because that's where it comes in the runtime.
Yeah, when you hit at the end of the runtime, you see him switch John G to Teddy. I think it very much hits on your quote kind of hits on that of revenge. I think that may be another deep theme that Nolan put in there of revenge doesn't really mean anything.
Yeah.
It's just even if you do get revenge, it's not really going to make you happy.
Exactly.
And so
you gotta find that peace within yourself.
Right.
You're
yes.
not gonna...
You're not gonna act on something and just out of revenge and then feel happy about what you did, because it's very easy. You move on from that.
And like you said, that's Leonard's dilemma, is that he doesn't have that the privilege of allowing himself to gain that inner peace, because he doesn't have time.
Yeah.
And the only outlet he has is vengeance at every moment. And if he's not living for vengeance, he can't have any sort of calm about him, which is why he's constantly looking for that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So.
And to write a character like that,
it's amazing.
That's incredible.
If I spent my whole lifetime trying to make a character this complex and amazing, I don't think I could.
Yeah, he did it in I don't know how long it took him to write. I know it took him like 10 years to write Inception.
Yeah.
Or like not write it, but like get Inception off the ground.
Yeah.
Or something. And that's, I don't know. It's just the level of like wonderful work that goes into these movies. It really shows. It's really incredible. So yes, let's move on to question number 3. Which is...
And then, question number 3, what is the most rewatchable scene?
Most rewatchable scene, and I think that we probably have the same answer on this. Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah. I know the scene that I instantly rewatched when the movie was done.
Yeah.
So that's what I put down, because it's so rewatchable.
The most rewatchable scene is, for sure, like, the ending sequence.
Yes.
In my mind. That's all it is. I
can go back to YouTube and watch that a billion times.
Over and over and over and over and over again. Yeah. I sat... With the first time that I watched it, you were like so leaned into the TV that like I didn't like you were so intently watching it, and I was watching it intently, but I was laying on my bed, and I was literally sitting like this for the straight for the last 10 minutes of the movie. I literally sat just like this, and because it blew my mind, like everything. I feel like all my expectations were subverted completely.
In a satisfying way.
In a very satisfying way, yeah. And it, like, my mind could not comprehend all of the, like, complex crap that was happening, like, on screen. And it still blows my mind when I watch it. And like I've said, I still don't really understand, like, all of what's there. Yeah. Like, especially with the Sammy Jenkins stuff. I'm still very... I don't know. So, you know, but seriously, the ending sequence, it's unbelievable.
And I totally agree with you. I wasn't quite sure how long I could justify a scene being, so I said specifically Teddy's explanation of what, you know, his perspective, lie, truth, whatever it be, what the alternate perspective on Leonard's reality is. I chose that specific, like, couple-minute period as my favorite scene, but I would agree with you that whole ending sequence is just as rewatchable.
Right, yeah, thing. And, like, I think... Wow. Yeah, I think that mixed with the monologue that Leonard gives with, like, that internal dialogue at the end of it is really, really special. Because it's, again, him exploring, like, yeah, you know what, I'm making this up, but it's better for me to live blissfully ignorant than to try to get over something, because I'm not going to remember this in 5 minutes anyways.
Exactly.
And so, like, and also there's a really fantastic line, which almost made my favorite line of dialogue. I think it's just so perfect. Yeah. Like, there literally is not... It's the most perfect... I think it's the most perfect line of dialogue I've ever seen in a movie done. At the ending line is where he just says...
Now, where was I?
Yeah.
Because, like, he goes through that whole monologue, and then, like, he opens his eyes.
Yep.
Because he's, like, driving, and then he opens his eyes, and then he breaks at the tattoo parlor.
Yep.
And he's just like, no, where was I? And then it cuts to black and ends. It's
perfect ending.
Yeah, it's perfect. It's absolutely perfect. All right, so question 4 now. I'm reading this one to you, right?
Okay.
Yep. So, this, I know you said that this was very difficult for you.
Oddly enough, I'm not on top of... Well, I'll let you get to the question.
Yeah, so the question is, if you had to recast Leonard, Natalie, and Teddy.
Yeah.
If you had to recast those 3, like, who would you recast them as? And I think what I'm going to let you do is just go through all 3 of them and give me your reasons.
Yep.
And then I'm going to give you my 3. And then we can kind of discuss that.
I'm very not on top of my acting game
when
it comes... Okay. I mean, you know, we'll talk about movies, and he's pretty good when it comes to remembering actors. Me, I'm just like, you know, the guys who played...
that guy was great.
Yeah, I don't know who he is.
Yeah.
But, so I was going through, and I've got 3 choices. I was telling you earlier, the first one is kind of a punt. The second one, I'm really proud of, that, like, I researched and I found this actor that I think really works well. And then the third one is my heart said yes, but...
On paper, it's like...
I feel like most 80% of people would hate the choice. So
I don't know. Let's hear
Maybe
him.
not.
Let's hear him. Let's hear him.
It depends on him. So the first one, I said, man, I can't even think. Because Leonard was so hard for me to cast. I couldn't even think of who it was. Wow. I said, which I know is surprising to you, but for some reason, I was like, man, I feel like a lot of people could play him. And I just thought to myself, you know, Leonardo DiCaprio can do whatever he wants. And I said, what's more perfect than a Leonard playing a Leonard? So I was like, Leonardo plays Leonard.
Okay.
So, and I said that just because he's such a solid actor, I just knew that he wouldn't screw it up.
Yeah.
And I couldn't think of anybody. Guy Pearce did so well.
Oh, he's
phenomenal performance.
By the way,
I
did
wouldn't
you know
choose
that
anybody
he's
over
Australian?
him. Yes, I did.
Okay,
found
so
that
I
out?
watched it. Sorry, I know that's getting way off topic.
Oh, no, you're good.
But I watched this video of like him breaking down his like iconic characters or whatever,
Yeah.
and he was Australian. And like, have you ever watched a movie or something and been like, oh, there's no way that guy's American.
Yeah.
Or like that guy's British.
It's
or something.
amazing.
And then it's just like when you hear their actual voice.
Yeah.
It's like, what? I didn't know that guy was from New Zealand or whatever, you know. But sorry. Anyways, so you
no,
said
you're good.
Leonardo DiCaprio.
But yeah, for me, it was just like I said.
I
thought Guy Pearce was so perfect.
Yeah.
That I wouldn't recast anybody over him.
Mm-hmm.
But if I put
You had
that
to.
script in Leo's hands, I know he wouldn't mess it up. He
would do well with it.
He would do well with it.
He would probably get an Oscar nod.
Right? I mean,
I don't
the
think
script is so good that most people who play that
would be able to
Yeah.
do it. Yeah, I think so too. Honestly, though, this is one of those roles where I think whoever you put in Leonard's position, I think just because Guy Pearce did so well with it,
Yeah.
that you can't imagine. It's like you can't imagine anyone else. Like
Exactly.
like Hannibal Lecter in The Silence of the Lambs.
Who else could
I
do it?
can't imagine anybody but
Exactly.
Anthony Hopkins playing Hannibal
Exactly.
Lecter. You know, if it was somebody else, I don't think they could have done what he did. So
The same, see, like Heath Ledger in the Joker.
oh,
role.
the Joker, yeah,
Dark
you
Knight.
like nobody else.
Nobody
could have
else
done
would play
that.
it.
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
yeah, but I think I don't know. I think that's a solid choice.
Yeah, so I figured,
It's
like
a
I said, it
safe
was kind of a
bet.
punt. It was just
Yeah.
kind of my safe bet.
It's a safe bet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, for Natalie, I put Emma Rossum, I think is how you say her name.
Rossum.
I don't know if you know her. She
Google
played in
her.
Phantom of the Opera.
Okay.
And then I was watching I haven't seen the movie Shameless. I literally haven't seen a single movie she's in. But I was researching actresses. And, first of all, she kind of looks the part. Which, when you see a movie, they don't have to look the part, but it helps.
It helps. Yeah.
So she sort of looks the part. And I saw some clips of the movie Shameless that she's in. And there is some, really phenomenal emotional sequences where she just uses... just below the cheekbone muscles to convey some powerful emotion.
Oh wow. Yeah.
So it was
It's
really
hard. Physical acting.
Yeah, it was. I really thought that her emotional performances were on point,
Yeah.
and Natalie has a lot of that, a lot of that little nuance, sort of how I'm feeling right now. And I thought that she would do a great job filling in that role. This is the one that honestly I was most proud of. I was like, yeah, I recasted this one pretty good.
Yeah.
Emma Rossum.
Okay.
I think that she would.
She did
do
pretty
really
good.
well.
Yeah.
And another thing is she's a little bit younger looking than Carrie-Anne Moss was while playing the movie. But it kind of seemed like Carrie-Anne Moss was already trying to play someone a little bit younger than she was.
Uh-huh.
Like she seemed like the teensy bit oldest,
Yeah, she was a
on the
little
older
older
side of
for
her
the
role.
role.
So I thought that it wasn't so bad going... She's in her early 30s, Emma Rossum.
Rossum, yeah.
So I didn't think it was too much of a stretch.
Yeah. Okay.
And then for Teddy... This is the one that worked for me. I went with Bill Burr.
Bill Burr. Yes, I could totally see Bill
Right?
Burr in this.
I watched
Yeah.
it and I was looking and I was like, man, I can't find any actors. And I just said, I literally repeated some of his dialogue to myself and I go,
That's Bill
That's
Burr.
Bill Burr.
Yeah. No. I could totally see
yeah,
Bill Burr. in
for
that.
me, Bill Burr. And
He would
he's
be
not a
funny,
trash
too.
actor either.
No. Because
Yeah.
he was like, even in like The Mandalorian.
Yeah, that's the...
In that
it
one
was the
episode,
point.
I was just like, man,
Yeah.
Bill Burr, like, get it.
I just don't know if... Whenever I see Bill Burr in a movie, he's so Bill Burr. He doesn't have a wide... he doesn't have an acting range,
Yeah, he's
per
probably
se.
not like a
but this
character
role
actor. Yeah,
seems
that
like it could have
be-
even been written
that
for
could
him.
that could be good
Because
for
it's
him.
so...
Yeah.
It's so close to who he is that... I don't know, I just thought it worked really well.
No, I
Yeah.
think that could actually really work.
Mm-hmm.
I'm proud. Like if that happened, I think that would be pretty good. I would be into that.
Plus, he has that, New England cop sound to him, just the whole deal.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, he would fit that very well, very
Yep.
well. All right, so for my recasting, for me, I know you said Leonard was kind of difficult.
Yeah.
For me, as soon as I was watching this movie, I was very much like, I know who I would recast for Leonard. Honestly, because like you were saying, they look a little bit similar. I think just in their face, like some of their facial features look very, very similar. Leonard, I would recast as Brad Pitt.
Oh, Brad Pitt.
I
I was
think-
literally,
yeah.
when you said they're kind of the same, I was like, should I interject here and
Pitt.
say, is it Brad Pitt? But I was like,
Yeah.
no, I don't want to make a fool out of myself.
No. But it's totally like
Yeah.
I think, and like Brad Pitt is a guy who I've seen him in like he's a good actor. Like he really is a really good actor.
Very solid.
And I think that he can do what he wants if he puts his mind to it. Really.
I agree.
And I just think like some of their mannerisms, even sometimes like the way that they say things, I can just hear Brad Pitt. I can hear like Guy Pearce as Brad Pitt, like, or I hear Brad Pitt as like Guy Pearce in this movie. You know, so I just thought Brad Pitt might be a good. I would like that. For Natalie, I picked Cate Blanchett. I don't know if you know who that is.
What is she?
She played. I believe her name was like Hela in Thor Ragnarok.
Oh,
The
okay.
sister. She was that lady.
Okay.
And then she was also in Indiana Jones and the Kingdom of the Crystal Skull.
All right.
So, you know, like, that's a trash movie, but but, you know, Thor Ragnarok I liked. So anyways, like, she was in those, and like, I don't know, just the way that, like, I feel like Natalie kind of has like a dark side to her, and I think
She is the dark side,
Yeah,
dude.
Cate Blanchett has tapped into that before in her roles, and I just thought she could do that, and she's not. I don't think she's like extremely old, or like I think she could fit that role. I just thought she could fit that role pretty well.
Yeah.
You know, even like the color of her hair and stuff like that, like it could
Yeah.
work. And then I think this is my proudest one for Teddy. Like for Teddy, I think this is my proudest one. For Teddy, I picked Steve Buscemi.
Steve Buscemi.
I don't know. I just thought, like, I think Bill Burr would work for that too. But Steve Buscemi, I thought, had some really... I don't know. I just feel like him and this character are very similar.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just saw it working. I don't really know how to explain that.
I see what you mean.
But I can see, like, if he was in that role, I think he could do a decent job with it.
Yeah.
I've never seen Steve Buscemi in a role where I thought, like, he was really bad in that. So I think, you know, if he's playing this, he could make it work.
Yeah, for sure.
So,
I
yeah.
can see that.
Anyways, Steve Buscemi is Teddy.
All right, well, are you good to go into the fifth question?
Yeah, fifth question.
All right.
Here we go.
The last one we got is, where would you rank this movie among all of Christopher Nolan's films?
Yeah.
I think we might have the same answer here.
Yeah,
but
I
we'll
think
see
so
what you
too.
say. So
This is my favorite.
yeah,
By far. This
I would
is my
say
favorite
exactly the
one.
same.
I'm a little on the fence for my second favorite because I don't know whether to choose Inception. I haven't seen a lot of Christopher Nolan movies. I should probably just say that.
Yeah,
The
I
only
would say
Christopher
so, yeah.
Nolan movies I've seen have been the entire like Dark Knight trilogy and then Memento and Inception. So I haven't seen a lot of his other movies, and I want to very, very badly.
Yeah.
Like, I want to see all the rest of the movies. So whenever I get a chance to
I'm
do that.
super excited for
Yeah.
Tenet.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
Tenet is going to be really, really great. And I want to see The Prestige and Insomnia. I think it's just called Following.
I'm not
Is
sure.
that it?
The Prestige and Insomnia are just on my list of movies I got to get to.
Yeah, I got to get to that at some point.
Yeah.
So yeah, I haven't seen those. So this list could potentially very much change. But for
But from
right
what I
now,
hear about other people, even like what I hear from other people, is that
like Memento's
it probably won't change.
Yeah, I don't know, but to me, like Memento is, it blew my mind. I was even telling you, like, I've never seen Fight Club, but I know the twist to Fight Club.
Which is sad.
Yeah, which is sad because like now that I watch Fight Club, it's probably going to be more of like I'm rewatching Fight Club, you know, just because I know the twist. So because I've heard that twist is like a mind bender.
I honestly prefer this twist.
Yeah, but like that's why I sat like this for the last 10 minutes of the movie is because like I couldn't. I think I told you like this was my Fight Club. Like this was the mind bending experience that I had.
Yeah.
So I don't know. This is my favorite, and then I'm on the fence for number 2 with either The Dark Knight or Inception.
For me, it was pretty simple, especially for me. He knows all about it, but Inception for me was like my first movie that I just like adored.
Yeah, like,
that was
really
the movie that got me
appreciated.
to appreciate that movies are good for reasons other than I like what I see.
Yeah, that's
I love
cool.
that movie.
Yeah.
So for me, it's pretty easy: Memento, Inception, Dark Knight.
Okay.
Yeah. But I mean, Dark Knight's
Dark Knight's
best
Dark
superhero
Knight's
movie of
great.
all time.
Yeah,
It's good.
that's the best in
So,
my opinion. But yeah. Anyways, I think that's gonna do it for this video. Zach,
Yeah.
thank you so much for coming and spending a large amount of time doing this.
No problem. It was a pleasure.
Yeah.
I could talk all day about basically anything.
Yeah, I know. I love this movie. I know you liked it too. So thanks for coming. That's going to do it for this video. Thank you so much for watching.
Oh, did you want to give it a letter grade?
Oh, we did. Yeah, we didn't give it a letter grade.
I think it's pretty obvious. I'm going to guess your grade, and you can guess mine. I'm going to guess he gives it an A+.
I'm going to guess that you give it an A+.
Wow. We can read each other's minds.
We did it. I know.
What we believe to be a top 5 all-time movie is an A+.
Yeah,
Shocker.
Yeah, I know. Big shocker. I think that was why I kind of just skipped over it. Because I was just like, we never said anything bad about this movie.
Seriously.
But yeah, I don't know. A+ in my opinion.
Yep.
A+ in your opinion. So yeah, that's going to do it for this review. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked what you saw here, please like, subscribe, leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. And the review is now concluded.